Disclaimer. I am obviously not the owner of Diablo Sonic. This is my personal take on the character, therefore making it my own original character in the process. The original Diablo Sonic you're looking for still has his lore being worked on as a part of the FNF mod. Hope you enjoyed the video regardless. Diablo Sonic. The bloody-eyed, skull-wearing, fire-using hedgehog that we all know and love from the FNF mod Drop and Roll UST. And he was actually originally supposed to be in Outcome Memories. However, they did scrap him because of 3 reasons. Number 1, they couldn't have too many clones of sonic.exe because they already have 2011X, Looney, Miss Crimson, characters like that. So they couldn't add another one. Plus, they were too similar, and Diablo is based off of Scrimbo, who's based off of Miss Crimson, and due to the reason I already said, they couldn't add him. Number 2, they didn't really want to associate themselves with Friday Night Funkin' and wanted to make sure the characters that they added Outcome Memories were at least known by most of the community and couldn't just be looked up on a Friday Night Funkin' mod. Number 3, Diablo has basically nothing to work with other than the fact that he uses fire as his main ability. That is literally the main reason this man was removed, because he has nothing. Even on his Wikipedia page, the only thing that says about him is his kill counts, his personality, how old he is, etc. But nothing about his backstory or any of his other powers. So unfortunately, that's why Diablo got scrapped. However, I'm here, ladies and gentlemen, to introduce you to what if Diablo was in Outcome Memories. Hope you all enjoyed this video. Again, this is my personal take on the character, so let's get into it. For those of you who aren't aware of what Outcome Memories is, let me just tell you to search it up on Google or YouTube, dog. There's like 50,000 videos explaining what Outcome Memories is and all the killers coming to the game. I'm just explaining a concept of what if this character was in the game. I'm not explaining that to you. The best I can do is just Forsaken but with Sonic characters, alright? Moving on. Now, a lot of you might be asking, who is Diablo? And that's a good question. Unfortunately for you, I can't answer that due to the fact that this guy doesn't have any lore yet. But don't worry, guys. I created my own personal take on the character, including his own version of lore, which we'll get later into in the video after we get through with his moveset and stuff in Outcome Memories. So yeah, moving on to the Outcome Memories concept. Finally, holy heck. Luckily, I actually wrote a lot of this down in my notebook, so this is kind of a scripted video, but not really, I guess. But whatever. Moving on to the gameplay. Diablo's executioner type will be sort of a rushdown character, similar to 2011X, but he will also be somewhat of a strategic and patient character because it is included in Diablo's personality. While this is my own personal take on the character, I do want to add some elements of the original character, and on his personality it does say that he does plan ahead for a lot of things, and he is more patient, waiting for his victims to come to him instead of vice versa. So yeah. He will cost 3,200 rings. I'm not really sure like how many rings executioners in the game will cost. I have heard that Fleetway will be the most expensive killer, and it is speculated he will be at least 10,000 rings. But if that number ever changes, then I will probably change the amount of cost Diablo has. But for now, it's 3,200 rings, probably something more, maybe like 5,000 or something. I'm not really sure. His sprint speed will be 53 and 60 with overheat mode. We'll get into that in a little bit. His damage will be 48 and 58 with overheat mode. His jump power is 76, and his style for gameplay is like 2011X. He is quite versatile and relies on skill in the game and accuracy. Unlike 2011X, however, Diablo has a mix of close range and mid-range to long-range attacks. His main kit consists of fire-like attacks like in the original FNF mod, but again, it's my own personal take, so you'll be seeing, you know, a little bit of creativity and stuff. So yeah. His appearance is similar to modern Sonic instead of classic Sonic like in the original FNF mod. Diablo has a similar appearance to Sonic the Hedgehog. However, both his quills, skin, and leg tone colors are darker, more of a dark blue than Sonic's light blue nowadays. Diablo also has a light red flaming patterns on the end of his quills. The reason why is to, you know, make a pattern for his fire abilities. I thought that was pretty cool to make a design of. I haven't made the design yet, but y'all will see it, so look in my post for the design, or I'll just make a quick little YouTube short showing it, most likely in post, but yeah. As well as wearing part of a skull on his face. Now, again, we'll get into the reason why he wears the skull in the lore part of the video, but yeah. He uses it as some sort of mask. And finally, Diablo also has marks on his chest as well as bandages on his arms, lower parts of his legs, and his tail. So yeah. Moving on to Diablo's abilities, I did take some inspiration from 2011X due to the fact that, well, I haven't really created an EXE character before, so I guess this is my first official EXE character that I've ever made, but hey man, whatever. Moving on to Diablo's abilities, his first and only passive is called Burning Rage. Keybind is, well, no keybind because it's a passive, and it doesn't have a cooldown because it's a passive. A flame icon on the side of the screen like 2011X's Rage Meter. However, this fills up when both Diablo uses flame-based attacks and is stunned by characters, and it fills up depending on what he's hit by. It will fill up like way quicker when you're using flame-based attacks, and will fill up slower when survivors stun you. However, Metal Sonic's destructive charge will also fill it up like I want to say 65% the rate as it would normal heat attacks. Why? Because screw Metal Sonic. I mean, I made Metal Sonic, but when I'm the killer, screw you. For his first ability that can actually harm you, it's the basic attack button. I mean, the keybind is M1, the cooldown is 1 second. It's similar to 2011X. I don't really need to explain anything. It's pretty basic. Like you know what it does. 48 damage, 58 in overheat. You know what it does. Moving on. Now for his E keybind attack, this kind of works like as an indicator, kind of similar to Colossus, and the name of this one is Heat Sensor, which has a cooldown of 20 seconds. Diablo focuses on the body heat of different survivors and tracks them down. The closer the survivors are, the brighter they appear. However, this does have a limited range due to the fact that this is body heat. So, for example, say a survivor is really close to you, their body heat will show up as bright red. However, if someone is far away from you, they will show up as light yellow or just light blue. It really just depends on how close they are to you and not their actual body heat, because that would be confusing. So, yeah, if you're running away from Diablo and you know, he loses sight of you, but he still has that indicator, otherwise known as heat sensor, well, you're screwed if he's targeting you, because a lot of people nowadays like to target people, which is actually a viable strategy if you're trying to server wipe. I mean, sure, it's annoying to survivors. I would have experience from playing Metal Sonic, but hey man, to win is to win. I can't really hate on that because I've done the exact same thing many times. Now for a different keybind, this is kind of similar to Fleetway's flight ability, but not really. This is a double space keybind. This has a 12-second cooldown after using all of its uses. This works as a multi-jump option, even if he does have higher jump power than the average 2011X. Diablo sticks out a hand below or behind him and ignites flames to propel himself up or forward. It really just depends on where you're going and, you know, where you're looking and stuff like that. This is dependent on where your camera is angled, so you would have to look up to like jump, and you would have to look any other direction to use as a double dash, if you know what I mean. Depending on if he's in the air or not, this has three uses max before going to cooldown. So yeah, if you think you're safe just because you jump to a high platform, looking at you Tails players, and Diablo just suddenly Super Mario's his way up to your location and snaps your neck, well, womp womp, buddy. Moving on. Moving on to the Q keybind, which is called Hidden Malice, which has a cooldown of 35 seconds. Diablo will temporarily take off his mask and bandages, not to mention hide his flame patterns on his quills to appear more like Sonic to other survivors. If they get too close to Diablo, meaning if they get caught off guard, then Diablo will trip them on the floor, which will make them lose access to an ability for 6 seconds at most. This does 17 damage to survivors, so this is the weakest ability out of all of them. The reason I decided to add this ability is because while Diablo is more patient and waits for victims to come to him instead, I do want him to be more of, still want him to be more of a playful EXE, like to play games with his victims, because again, this is my personal take on the character, so I can do whatever I want with him. Moving on to his X keybind, which is called Heat Wave, which has a cooldown of 18 seconds if it hits, and cooldown of 25 seconds if missed. Diablo will stand still for 3 seconds as his flames charge up in his hands before firing a heat wave at survivors for 8 seconds, which does continuous 14 to 20 damage, and it's really all RNG dependent. So yeah, Reason I decided to add this is because, well, fire powers, and I think Heat Wave is a cool name, and I like Pokemon, and this is similar to Flamethrower from Pokemon, so yeah. I do feel like the animation would be similar to Tails' laser cannon, but, you know, with fire. But hey, it is what it is. Moving on to his other ability. Now, to his supposed final ability, this is Overheat mode. The keybind is Z, and it's very similar to 2011X's Rage mode. Doesn't have a cooldown, can only be used once, you know the deal. Now for the description. Once the flame meter is full, Diablo can press X at any time to activate Overheat mode. I say X because I play on controller and that keybind is X. Not to mention, I did take some inspiration for descriptions from the Outcome Memories wiki, and it says that Rage mode is also X for some reason. So yeah, I kind of stole that. But anyways, suddenly the timer will stop and flames will appear on all sides of everyone's screen, obscuring some of their vision. Along with that, another timer will show up on the bottom of the screen in a flame-like text, counting down from 2 minutes, like 2011X. Diablo gains a variety of buffs, faster run speed, more damage, etc. The body heat of survivors will always be highlighted and now has infinite range, so there is really no escaping this guy. However, unlike 2011X, Diablo's quills will spike in upwards and his skull will turn black. This is kind of like a super form, but not really. I'll explain more in the lore video I make for Diablo. The lore part of this video is only like a short summary, so y'all can get the gist. However, oh wait, I already read that part. Being enveloped in a flaming aura as smoke envelops the area everywhere, so this includes survivors as well. So if your vision already wasn't obscured with the flames on your screen, then the smoke will do the same thing to you. Whatever your area that the survivors are in, as well as the sky turning black. So yeah, instead of adding a minute to the timer, because 2011X can't actually do that to the timer depending on, you know, how much time there is left and what map you're on, yada yada. Instead, it removes a minute from the timer with the animation of flames burning 1 minute off the timer. So this has to be very strategically used. In a case of where it's 1 minute left and the exit spawns, you can, for example, make it 1 minute and 2 seconds to just 2 seconds, which is OP as heck in my opinion. But hey, it's not like the developers are watching this video and gonna add this to the game. This is just a fun little concept. So screw you. So again, this plays into the more strategic way you have to play Diablo instead of just being a full rush down, because if you just end up giving the survivors a win, depending if you waste overheat on just like 2 characters, and there's literally the entire rest of the lobby left, well, that's not going to do too good, is it? Anyways, Diablo also gains a new set of abilities. So, for those who thought that the abilities previously were lackluster, don't worry, Overheat mode has got you covered with a new set of abilities. I know I stuttered during a lot of part of this recording, but I'm keeping it in anyways because that is a long description I'm not reading again. Now, for his attack, it mainly stays the same. You know what it does, 58 damage in Overheat mode, yada yada, but it has a 3-second cooldown, so it has a 0.5 longer cooldown than 2011X's Rage mode attack. So yeah, it just basically stays the same. For his E keybind new ability, and yes, this replaces previous abilities, so yeah, in his E keybind ability, which has a 15-second cooldown, this is called Ember Surge. Diablo will get into a ready position before spin dashing while covered in flames and launching off at insane speeds at anyone near him. Applies burn effect for 5 seconds. Can stack depending on how many times a survivor gets hit. So, for example, if you get hit by this move 3 times, you now have a 15-second long burn. And this can really screw you. So, good luck, everybody. Now to his double space keybind, replacing Flame Burst, we now have Flight, which has a cooldown of 13 seconds. Diablo ignites flames under his feet before using them to fly in any direction. However, it does have a bar that can run out, but can be reused once the cooldown is up. So you basically have limited flight, similar to Fleetway, or similar to Eggman's double jump with this jetpack. So be able to use this wisely. But yeah, Diablo is able to fly for the people thinking he can't, so power scalers rejoice in that. For his Q keybind, which has a cooldown of 30 seconds, this is called Hellish Concealance. Diablo would take off his mask before his eyes glow a brighter red, kind of like what he did in the FNF mod when he was singing, you know, do you want to play with me and stuff like that. But anyways, his eyes will glow a brighter red before a selected target has their screen covered by a giant X, and the survivor will have to tap the screen over and over to get rid of it. If they aren't fast enough, flames overtake their screen and they lose 35 HP. Other survivors just get jump scared and, I don't know, have their controls messed up or something. I'm not really sure. Maybe just have them get jump scared because it is a horror game after all. So yeah. For Heat Wave, it's basically the same thing, just it lasts 15 seconds and does continuous 16 to 25 damage. So RNG better be your best friend or else you're getting cooked. Quite literally. And now, for an extra keybind that I added myself, which is the V keybind. This is called God's Inferno and has a cooldown of 25 seconds. Diablo will swipe his hand back before swiping it back again and causing an AoE fire blaze that does continuous 30 damage that applies burn for 20 seconds. However, this move only lasts for about 5 to 7 seconds, but it does have a wide range, so you better get out of there fast. And this is mainly an ability for people who like to grow up together. So if you're getting jumped by, literally everybody, unlike 2011X who basically can't do anything about it, you can just use God's Inferno and just take them all out in one fell swoop, depending if they're all on last life or not. Except Metal Sonic, who only has 1 life, except he has 175 HP. Holy tank! Now there is a specific strategy I would recommend, which I wrote down here. Strategy. Diablo can be used as both of a straight down aggressive killer like 2011X while using his fire attacks, and to fuel his overheat mode, just straight up just being overly aggressive and then try to wipe out all the survivors with overheat. However, you can also try to be a more patient killer, waiting for survivors that are overconfident to come to you. Basically looking at overconfident Metal players and Sonic players, which is me, because whenever I'm playing Metal Sonic, I'm actively looking for the EXE so I can run hands. Also Knuckle players too. And either let them hit you or just get easy attacks on them. It really depends on who they are. When being aggressive, it's recommended to target Metal Sonic, Cream, and Knuckles, mainly because they are the main stunners. Well, Metal Sonic and Knuckles are the main stunners, and Cream is a healer. And you don't want Cream healing the survivors, do you? Knuckles and Metal Sonic will just give you overheat, overheat bar, and you can just hit them with Heat Wave to make it more simple, because Heat Wave will cancel out their, destructive charge and punches and stuff like that. You would have to target them when they are alone or in a group. When using overheat, you have to be strategic about it due to the 2 minutes it has, but taking away 1 minute away from the timer. In overheat, using God's Inferno is meant to be a direct counter to survivors grouped together, which I just mentioned, by the way. When playing against characters like Metal Sonic or Knuckles, you are meant to be using Heat Wave to cancel destructive charge and punches respectfully. It is definitely recommended to target Cream with long-range attacks no matter what, so you can get rid of the healer, obviously, because again, nobody wants a Cream on their team. You want Cream on your team as a survivor, but if you're the killer, get this little rabbit out of here, bro. Now, for those of you who are waiting for the lore part of the video for my take on Diablo Sonic, here it is. Diablo is an intelligent, young, ancient being that was created from the embers of the Mystic Flame. The Mystic Flame originates from Angel Island at the very deep crevices from a specific cave that it is born from. It originates and was created from conquest lust, battle lust, and the ever-yearning urge for more. Due to being so young compared to other EXEs, he is lesser experienced, which is why he has bandages due to him burning himself with his own powers from the Mystic Flame. He was born into the world of Sonic the Hedgehog and took a liking to Sonic himself and decided to copy the appearance of the blue blur. Unlike most EXEs, he doesn't take his form wanting to be like him, or he thinks he is him, or just to seem trustworthy or anything. He takes Sonic's form due to his heroic stature and the fact that he is practically worshipped among others for him being a hero. So he wants to be, take the appearance so people can worship him like that. Since Diablo was born from the Mystic Flame, he worships it and uses its powers gifted to Diablo ever since he was born. He does this as a way of thanking it for giving him life. Diablo's main goal is to take over Mobius and way beyond that, to become way more powerful than anybody to ever exist, including other EXEs as well, as he is aware of their existence. Not only does he strengthen himself from these acts, but he also strengthens the Mystic Flame as well. And in turn, the Mystic Flames grants him with more power to his fire and more abilities. All others must bow to him in the flame and become a part of the cult or perish along with the other worlds. The more souls he collects or the more people in his cult, the stronger him and the flame get. And no, my version of Diablo is not associated with Friday Night Funkin' at all and is purely stuck to the Sonic the Hedgehog universe and way beyond that if you want to be even more specific. So it could stretch out to other EXE universes and possible real life implications for people that actually believe this. Again, this is just a brief summary of the lore, but I do want to say that it does expand out to other EXEs and real life implications that join Diablo's cult, thinking it's real. But moving on. Now, I haven't really been experienced in making EXE lore. However, I do know a lot of EXE lore and I do take a lot of inspiration from it. So let me know in the comments if this is bad, good, mid, or just straight up cringe and I should delete this video off the face of the earth. Just let me know in the comments. I know someone is going to make a joke in the comments just saying that I should delete this off the face of the earth and just never come back and just go back to going back to, you know, Dragon Ball Legends. And personally, if you're that person in the comments, here, have a gift. Oh my god, K-Boy Ultra put a middle finger in his video. Yes, I did. I'm not allowed to cuss in my videos. However, I'm not allowed to cuss. I'm not allowed to say bad words. I'm not allowed to, you know, text them out in full. However, I can censor them, and I can show middle fingers. So to the guy that keeps telling me to go back to DBL, have a gift. But anyways, yeah, just let me know if this lore is good or bad and stuff like that. I'm still working on this version of Diablo, and this version of Diablo will be called Reignited version. Well, Diablo Reignited, whatever you want to call it, I don't really care. So, yeah, moving on to different cosmetics and stuff like that. Now, for Diablo, he will have 3 to 4 skins. His first one, which is his base one, will be his normal one, aka his modern Sonic skin. His second skin will be his classic Sonic skin. The third one will be a TD Reborn skin, you know, as reference to sonic.exe to Disaster. Rest in peace, by the way. And finally, a Scrimbo skin, because Diablo, like the original Diablo, is based off of Scrimbo. And as another skin, we will just have the basic Diablo skin because, you know, it's literally the basic Diablo, like what this character is based off of, but it's like original and not associated with Friday Night Funkin' and can be greenlit for Outcome Memories, even though I know that isn't happening. So, yeah. Oh, and for those of you who thought we were done, I actually added some special voice lines voiced by, you know, yours truly himself of how Diablo would sound in-game. So, you're welcome. I will now move on to the voice lines, but if you just came here for the entire concept, well, goodbye. Hope you have a good day. Hope you have a good life. And if you're not, well, I really do hope it gets better. This K-Boy Ultra signing off. But for the people that want to stay to hear the voice lines, here it is.